Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Conversations with CAUFP, Canadian Association of Urban Financial Professionals. My name is Elaine, and today we're here with Natalie Royer, belonging expert. Actually, Natalie has an extensive professional experience with education. So what kind of brought her into entrepreneurship on her own was the exciting part that we wanted to bring you her story and also talk about the sense of belonging in current state. We're all feeling displaced. We're all feeling disconnected. I thought it was so important to have Natalie on here to just kind of debrief for us. So Natalie,
hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I would love to just actually start off with, how did you go into entrepreneurship with your past belonging to a, what others would see as, a profession, right, in education?
Yeah.
How did you make that leap into entrepreneurship for yourself, and then also choosing, being a belonging expert, seeing what was needed in our society quite long before we did.
Right.
So
Yeah.
love to hear it from your perspective about the beginning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here and talking to you about this exact thing. So when I started in healthcare, and I was working on a floor with high-risk pregnancies, with women in their most vulnerable state, and also seeing the resilience of children. And that led me to go into actually early childhood education, where everyone thought that made no sense. It makes no money. What are you doing, Natalie? And I actually fell in love with it. And I think this is part of the story to understand you have to decide internally what your moves are and what works for you and what aligns with you, even if it doesn't make sense for everyone else.
Right.
So I fell in love with early childhood education, did that. I went back to school and did my master's, and then I taught in higher education, and I took on different roles of academic advising, supervising different projects. But really in higher education, I saw something that was alarming. I remember the last 5 years of teaching, I had to know free mental health resources because the mental health decline was that big. And I kept saying to myself, there's something here. There's a lack of belonging of my students. There's a lack of belonging of them feeling part of a bigger community, but really the decline of self-worth. And I think that's really relative to all of us, right? We're talking about young adults, so a cohort really between the age of like 19 to 27, that cohort. And I think it was the starting point of me really realizing this is kind of where I want to go. I think I want to take what I've been teaching into corporate, kind of the classroom to corporate, because I think these are the elements I think all leaders need to know. I think these are the elements we all should be thinking of. And I look at belonging like a need we all need.
Right.
If we do not feel a sense of belonging, we will suffer. I think we need it like we need food and water. I just don't know how else to say that. But I'm so passionate about it because I remember all the times where I didn't feel that sense of belonging and how excluded you feel and how isolated you feel. And so this is really what led me to do it. And I was kind of touching on it on the side of my desk before I took the full plunge in 2021. And I decided to transfer into full-time entrepreneurship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. And I know that it's been, obviously it's been for you to be continuing down this path. So I kind of want to touch on, for all of our audiences and our constituents that are thinking about entrepreneurship in today, like, how do you mitigate risk, right? Like, you were, by any of our parental ancestry cultures, you had a steady income, you had that stability, right?
For sure.
So to go from a stability of a corporation, whether it's an institution, an education institution, to then all for yourself, how do you switch your mindset? How do you plan for it? Did you plan for it? How do you mitigate risk for yourself during that time I think this is something that every single person who's getting ready and trying to go into that for themselves would love to hear from you.
Totally. I think the biggest risk is betting on yourself.
Yes.
So I think when we think about risk,
Yeah.
getting in the mindset of betting on yourself is where the most work comes in. We think about mindset, we think about what does that mean to really shift how you think about yourself and the value you want to provide. So for me, while I was full-time working, I got a coach. And so the coach allowed me to really start shifting my mindset around it because I felt I wasn't there yet. I was near, like I was ready to leave, but I was like, I'm not taking this step because I'm not holding the full belief yet.
Okay.
And so once I started holding the belief that I can contribute in a way that I want to contribute and I can monetize on it and provide a life for myself, I decided to do it. The idea of not realizing that it's all mindset. 80% is mindset because you have to always hold the belief, even if you don't see the physical proof in front of you.
Okay.
So when you think that I can't do this, I'm not seeing the money, I'm not seeing the value, those are the times you have to dig in to still hold the belief that I have something to say, and it's just a matter of time before people see it too. But you have to hold the belief within yourself. And I think that's what I would tell anybody. I also financially prepared for 18 months
Okay.
before I left to make sure, okay, what a little cushion to make sure I can cover what I need to cover in the meantime. But I think no one can really prepare you until you're there. At times it can feel very lonely, especially if you're among friends that have a full-time job. They don't really understand the ebbs and flows. So finding community is really helpful, even before you take the plunge. Who else are doing what I'm doing? Also, who is where I want to be?
Yeah.
Who are those people? Reach out, get a coffee chat, connect to other entrepreneurs. It's not something you can do on your own. It's really vital to have community.
Another sense of belonging.
Yeah,
right?
always community. So find the mindset
Yeah.
and taking the risk on yourself. Can you do it emotionally? And I think to have the village in place. Like for me, I have an acupuncturist I go to. I have a shaman I go to. When stuff are getting rough, I have friends that hold me in prayer when I need it. And so these are the elements that people might not talk about, but there's a village holding you in the back and preparing that village when you make such a step. There's no I in that. And I think if there is an I, you are really probably drowning emotionally, spiritually, and physically. I don't know how anyone would be able to do it alone, personally. Yeah.
No, I love what you said. And actually, it's so interesting to me that inadvertently, we've actually touched on a synergy of a couple of our episodes where we talked about just the transparency inwards, right? So when you said that, you did the 80% of mindset work, right? Like that's to each individual inwardly for yourself, you have to be ready, right? Mind, heart, body, soul, ready. But the work that it takes for you to actually do that personal audit, to write down everything financially, what is it going to cost you to look forward, like break down your finances on a monthly basis, what are your commitments, what are your ins and outs, and then map that out over 18 months, 2 years. How long are you willing to be sort of without that that definite paycheck coming in, and or if you have already projected certain projects that could potentially be flowing through, right? Like these are things that it's the individual work that no one can do for you in your individual field, that you have to sit down and just be completely transparent and raw to yourself to say, these are my costs, this is my living standard, these are my non-negotiables, right, to survive. And then map that out and then marry it with, this is what I want. This is what I believe.
To be honest, Elaine, and I'm going to be completely transparent, I didn't have a strategy or a plan on how it would look Literally, when I left my job, I had one client. I didn't have a slew. I didn't have a full list. I had one client. And I think some elements defy logic
Okay.
when you hold the belief so strongly. Yes. And I just worked with that client and went above and beyond to nurture that relationship. And I realized too, it's also your network. People, and this is what I say, the energy you put in the world is actually the energy that you will get back. And so sometimes you're so worried about making an impact, but you also have to remember, like, what is your intent? So every time I'm in a relation, what's my intention is to help, to be of value. You're the same, right? Every time we've talked, it's like, how can I help? How can I be of value? You do that naturally. And so every time something comes up, people are like, oh, I remember that conversation with Elaine. Like, she really adds value. She really helps. And you don't realize when you need the help, how many people actually want to help you. Right. So pouring into community has actually supported my work in entrepreneurship. So once again, that's why I say again, there's no I.
Right.
So, I didn't have a marketing team. I wasn't on social media. Full transparency, I didn't put my LinkedIn photo up because I thought people wouldn't honor my prices if they Googled me and they saw I was a woman of color.
Oh, wow.
So you couldn't Google me and see my picture anywhere.
Wow.
Because I was like people's biases, right? Because this was part of my work, right?
Yeah.
People's bias, how they show up.
Right.
So, and at that time I didn't have a Facebook. Like I wasn't on, I need to get better at being on stuff still now, but you couldn't Google me and see my face when I started.
Okay.
So it was just straight going in like that. And I realized that was part of a limited belief as well.
Okay.
And right?
What transitioned you away from that? Like
my coach at the time
okay.
chipped in, like, we're giving you, I think it was like 24 hours to go get your photo on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I called my goddaughter. She came down and she took a photo right in front of my house and I posted it. I was like, limited belief, here we go. It's gone. Yeah.
That's, I mean, I'm sitting here, I mean, everything you said it exists in all of us, right? It's
totally.
The inner voice. It exists in all of our doubts. It exists in so many cultures. But I applaud you for saying them out loud. And thank you for being so honest with us. It's just, that's so much work. You know what I mean? Like,
it's so much work.
It's so much individual self-work.
And I think just what you said, I think people don't understand the work though. The inner work is a lot of work. You have to think you're going to have family members and friends that are like, you're dumb to leave a full-time job. What are you thinking? The pension?
Oh my God, yes.
The
Especially
pension,
with school, yes.
right? And especially coming from, the immigrant experience, yes. All that is playing in your mind, like, the pension, the security, the financial security, all of those elements, right? Yeah. Definitely come into play, and people doubting your choices.
Yeah.
People catastrophizing what could happen. All those you have to keep being into what you're trying to achieve and not let other people's opinions sway you.
Can I, if I may be so brazen to ask,
yeah.
like, how do you hold on to that self-belief to weed out all the noise? Like, I hear that you had an amazing village and you had your coach, but on the moments where you're alone, right? And you're either going to sleep or waking up in the morning, and you want to be, the positive mindset and speaking it into reality, but in silent moments where you're like, oh, is this the magic? Is this the thing? How do you combat those rare moments in between where?
I don't think they're rare. I think they happen. I think it's finding really good books. I usually listen to audiobooks, or I have books that I go to that really lift me up, like U Squared and The Power of Awareness, and really thinking about being in the energy of love. I connect with friends. I think this is where connection, these are all the pillars of belonging
Yes.
that relate to real life that we don't talk about. So who am I connecting with?
Right.
And connecting people that match that energy you want to be in.
Yeah.
Right? I think we tend to go inwards by ourselves when we feel like that, but what it reminds us is to go outward.
Okay.
Like when you're going inward of doubt
Yeah.
and kind of the idea like, I'm not worth it, I don't know if I can do it. It's also a reminder to go outward to the people that love you.
Okay.
And I think, and go out into community if you don't have, not everyone has that group of people or person in their life to do that. And this is where I invite people to go out in community, join the meetups. You can go on Eventbrite and find Luma and like go out. I encourage people not to seclude themselves in that.
Right.
Not everyone has access to therapy
Right.
and all those ideas. And we have to think about mental health and self-care as not always something like a commodity that we have to buy.
Right.
Finding the tools within ourselves, and walking is my go-to. I'll go outside and walk. It's
Okay.
fresh air, walk, get outside, get the fresh air hitting, and get in mindset. I could be at my desk, I'm coming off that call and going for a walk.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think nature plugs in that earthiness and just grounds you when
Yeah.
everything else seems kind of chaotic and maybe intangible at times, right?
For me, it's faith in a higher energy source.
Yeah.
For everyone, it's different. I think you have to find out. I think it's really hard for someone else to tell you what you need.
Is, yeah.
Right?
course.
So for me, I want to share what works for me.
Right.
But in no way can I tell what works for you or other people. This is what worked for me. Yeah.
I think what you've just said, so there are three things that just keeps on circling my mind, which is while like it's a fine balance, right? Or that line where you need to be critically auditing yourself inwards to find what is your thing, right? If you're about to go into investing in yourself, into the entrepreneurship, you need to go inwards to weed out the noise, find the thing, and prepare. While don't isolate yourself, right? Because some of the self-work will take time. Some of the self-work will be lonely. But that's when it's your sign to look for the community, to look for that connection, to be a part of something. Because like you said, entrepreneurship is the loneliest journey.
For sure. I don't think people really know how lonely it can be. I don't know. I wasn't prepared for it as much as I thought I was, of the loneliness of, even talking about business, talking about money, talking about your wins. Who do you talk about your wins with? When I closed a big deal, like who do I don't know. It's you can definitely go to your friends. I have a great friend system, but it's one of those things you want to talk about specifics. You want to talk about, right? All those things. That's why it's great to have friends that are entrepreneurs too, that don't mind talking about business for like 2 hours. Like, how did you do that? What worked for you? Right? So you don't feel like, oh my gosh, am I the only one that cares to talk about this so much? And then getting a business coach was transformational for me as well. So I could learn my numbers, learning my burn rate, learning how I'm spending, how much I need to make sure that I'm consistently maintaining a certain income every month. All those things came along after. So when I did the leap, I didn't really have those strategies in place. And so it wasn't until I was in, I was like, no, I need help here. This is where, and for me, again, I was socialized not really to ask for help.
Right. Of course. Culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Cultural, right? When you go to a job, not asking for help. You don't want to seem like you're incompetent. You don't want to seem like you don't know what you're doing. So those same beliefs carried into when I became an entrepreneur.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. Asking for help is still something I have to be like, oh, right? And so I think those are the elements I know I have to work on. Yeah. And so flexing and exercising that muscle is something that is still an everyday. It's an everyday kind of exercise I still have to do, for
But
sure.
you've acknowledged it. right? And I think one of the things that you touched on just now is when you first enter into entrepreneurship, get ready that you might be alone, find a village, but also the fact that, you know, the series of experts that you then sought after, right? That came in to help you structure
Totally.
what some of this may require, right? In terms of, you know, where we want people to be authentic, we want people to be cognizant of their finances. And this is one of the things that, you know, first step is acknowledging, right? You know, be able to document, be able to translate everything you do and be able to account for things, right? Holding yourself accountable. And then knowing that when maybe there are questions to start sourcing out who can be your, you know, experts and your village beyond, like, you have your familiar family loving support, but there's also the other aspect of like the pillar of structural support, right? Like your business support and finding that. And sometimes not knowing, maybe reach out to Natalie, right? Like, I mean, I'm not putting, but I think we all deal with the struggle of not knowing.
Oh, always.
And the shame of not knowing and how.
Then
right?
there's no shame. I think keeping the idea that you'll never know everything actually keeps you curious.
Yes.
And keeping you curious is good for business.
Yes.
Because you're not bringing your judgment to business. You're not bringing the idea that you know everything, that you're the expertise in everything. Even around the work you do, I never feel like I'm the expert. Every, you know, corporation I go into, every training that I facilitate, they're the experts on their own lives. They're the experts on their work culture. Like, they're the experts on it, right? So I think not knowing allows you to stay humble. It allows you to be curious, and it allows you to be always a student, right?
Yeah.
And also, too, I think when you realize that you don't know everything, it's a sense of relief.
You know, it's so interesting to me to be speaking to an entrepreneur and hearing the same elements that corporate, you know, North America, corporate Canada is also speaking to, which is, you know, what we're telling younger generations and younger people today, stay curious.
Yeah.
Right?
Always stay curious. Yeah.
Push you leads and bounds into your career and everything.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to also like kind of deep dive with you a bit, especially because you are that belonging expert, and kind of deconstruct that a little bit. Are you seeing themes like for the younger generation? I mean, for the last, gosh, what was it, 15, 16 years with the social media and the, you know, sprint to multiple platforms and all of that. I know you talked about belonging and the sense of community and connectivity has to be the fundamental basis of humanity.
I think so. I think we have to remember that that's the one element and string we all have in common, is that we're all experiencing the human experience.
Yes.
None of us can go unscathed.
The human condition.
Yeah, from having the human experience, right? And so once we realize that's our common ground and we actually start there, everything else can be, you know, cultivated and created. And I think a lot of the time young people might feel torn against from their cultural identity and fitting in.
Yes.
And the idea of fitting in, but what are you fitting into?
Okay.
And I think, you know, when we look at employees in general, over, you know, 60% of us are illustrating a sense of covering. Like, whether it's covering our affiliations, whether it's like covering our tattoos, whether it's covering a part of us that we don't feel comfortable to bring into work. And I think, you know, the young people are looking for organizations and companies that allow them to show up more authentically, that are allowing them to bring their perspective for the bigger good. Okay. I think younger people care a lot about social impact. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's really inspiring. And I think if we give room for that element to show up, it can really shift the way we create and the way we cultivate belonging in companies and organizations.
I love that. I think even for as we're aging and growing in our own, the past the boomers, the millennials are also kind of moving forward with their career. Like, be cognizant of what the younger and the newer upcoming individuals, professionals could bring to shift the mindset, to change how we think, but still keeping in mind, like, the fundamental to everything we've said is it's humanity.
It's humanity. And what I would tell a young person is the tools should be going into taking care of yourself. And what I mean by that is the world can show up in a way that you don't have the tools on how to respond to it. And I think that is the biggest advice I'd say to a young person, is knowing that they are enough, they are of value, and they have a lot to offer. And I think understanding that and having the tools how to deal with the real world is a shift. And, not everyone is socialized to have those tools.
Right.
And so I think that's a hard gap with, the influx of social media and how self-worth looks like, and how young people peg themselves against friends, and, friends that maybe have gotten more upward mobility than them, and finding ways to start their life, whether it's financially, right? It's changed a lot for young people because of the economy.
Right.
And so I think having the tools of feeling that they're enough and they have a lot to offer is a reminder that I'd want to tell every young person that you're worth it, you're of value, and you have a lot to offer.
I love that. Any tips in self-work, I would say, to our constituents in terms of, after hearing this, there's so much work. Like, I'm ready to get the pen and paper out to start mapping out, but as we've just kind of come off of this, you are enough, right? And I think that's a big statement. How do we work to that, right? Like, well, what are some of the groundworks that maybe they have to do, right? Like, so any advice, any tips that you would maybe give out to some of our listeners, like, how do you start that journey?
Practice.
Okay.
That's the first thing I would say, is practice, whether that be in your classroom, whether that be in your job, asking a colleague to go out for a coffee, let's chat, like, practice connection. Practice the ability of being curious about others. Practice going to talk to people and meet up with people that don't even share your life experience, right? It's the idea of bridging with each other, being in circles with people that are out of the, your friends you went to high school with or university with, being outside of your comfort zone, I think would be practicing that, because that's the only way it'll become more rhythmic. It's the way that you'll learn how to work those muscles. It's the way you'll learn how to work rejection.
Yes.
I don't think it's real to say, read a book and not practice and then expect yourself to know those tools and know how to implement them.
No.
I think, you can read 10, 15 books. It doesn't mean you have the practice to actually implement them.
Of course.
And you won't know unless you put yourself out there in a way that allows you to be curious, understand others' perspectives. I mean, we think about, the ability to travel. Not everyone has that ability to travel. This is the great thing about social media. You can see pictures, you can see people, but you don't always have that ability to travel and see other ways of living. You can look at it in social media, but you can also work with the tools you have. I think we have to realize sometimes we have access to some resources, use those resources, use the public library, right? Like, there's so many resources that are available to us that we think that aren't worth it, but they actually are. There's meetups. You can meet people. You can find a meetup with any kind of interest you're in, you're interested in. I think these are the elements we don't realize are going to shift us, and it's going to connect us to people that we probably wouldn't have met otherwise unless we put ourselves out there to do it.
Right.
So I think practice, like practicing. I think finding people that will elevate you, finding places that cultivate community. I think community is so important, but sometimes we look at family as our only community. And I think there's a setback to that because sometimes family can only see you in a certain way, and it's really hard for them to look at you from a different lens.
Right.
And so the dreams you have for yourself in the way you want to show up might not be from people that have known you for 20 years. But the great thing about meeting new people is you get to show up and present blank slate. You get to do it all over again. You get to share a new story, a new narrative. And that's the ability to be able to co-create in a world we'd all want to live in, where we can feel that sense of connection.
Oh, I love that. I mean, everything you just said, I remember saying and hearing these high school students saying to me, like, how do you not get scared, right? And stuff. And from your message, all I can think of is just really, there's no one judging you but you.
Yeah,
we're also in our heads, right?
All of us, and that I don't think that changes as you age.
No.
I don't think that changes as you age. But I think having mentorship is really important. But I know for some people, it's really hard to get people to mentor us and then sponsor us. So mentoring and sponsoring are two different things, because sponsor is like, who's putting your name in the room when you're not in the room, right? And all of us don't have that access. So sometimes it means creating your own tables. Sometimes it means creating your own communities to allow that. It means masterminding and bridging with other people. And so I think this is the way we can really try. And, YouTube. Like, there's so many channels that are so educational that can give you access to great mentors. Even if you can't get them in real time, you can definitely hear the messages they have to share.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I would encourage people to do. Not all the time you're going to find people to mentor you and sponsor you, unfortunately. Like, it'd be great to always have that. I've had great mentors, and they've been really instrumental in my trajectory. And so this is why I would never say I. It's like, no, there was a whole village around me that helped me have the self-belief and helped me keep going.
Yeah. No, I think the key things that I'm hearing and I'm taking away today is no matter your current profession, whether you are corporate Canada, corporate North America, or an entrepreneur, the things that you need around you is the same. You
100%.
Still need that village. You still need somebody to speak your name. You still need somebody to kind of look up to if you had aspirations, and then, seek out that mentorship and be okay with it not having a direct one-on-one, right? Like having that ability to see outside of the box now. In our current climate and in our current state, the resources available, leverage it, right? And then in your continuous journey to seek, it will happen, right? But don't be discouraged if you don't find a connection, a mentor, like somebody to speak your name, but hold yourself accountable, find that community.
And get an accountability partner. I have an accountability partner I talk to weekly. Like, what did you do this week?
Yeah.
What did you get done? Like, holding yourself accountable to get things done.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to choose a person that is, will challenge you. Like, I don't want a yes person.
No.
I want people that are going to challenge me. I want people that are going to poke holes in what I'm saying. It helps me get better at what I'm doing. So I think, that's really, really helpful and supportive. But I think in a time where the world can feel so divided, I think we need to lean into connection, and we really need into recognizing each other in this way that brings us together, and realize even if the world is telling us a different message, we still have to be in the highest intention of what we put out, regardless of how people receive it. It's your good intention. It will matter. And sometimes it won't. And that's why it's called life.
Yes. I love that. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Natalie. Thanks
so much for having me.
All this amazing takeaway today. I feel like my mind, my mood, everything's already elevated. I'm going to go seek out my community. But thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, CAUFP family. Tune in next time for our next conversations with CAUFP.